Today's video is proof that you can get really high-end horology for a very good price. Today we're taking a look at a Credor chronograph. Of course, it is made by SEIKO, but Credor is their higher end brand. Some say it's even higher end than Grand Seiko. However, this has one of the best bracelets that I have seen from any brand under the SEIKO moniker. It is amazing. Also, it's a chronograph. It's powered by a 6S movement. This is actually a pretty high-end movement that you've never seen in a Grand Seiko. So let's flip the camera and take a look at a neo-vintage Credor chronograph from SEIKO. So I'm not sure that Credor is a really well-known brand, especially here in the United States. However, this is essentially a Grand Seiko, or in some cases, some people consider Credor a higher end brand than Grand Seiko. Obviously, SEIKO own Grand Seiko and SEIKO also own Credor. Credor are really well-made watches. They have some incredible finishing, everything that you would find from Grand Seiko, and in some cases more. And in specifically this watch, this is something special. This is a vintage watch, or a neo-vintage watch. It came out around 2000. This was a limited edition, and everything about this watch is amazing. Now, you may not like the aesthetic. There is one element about this watch that I think will be polarizing for some people, maybe two elements. The first one is, of course, this bezel. It has a bead that goes all the way around it. And the second is the dial. The dial is busy, and it's made out of carbon fiber, which was very popular back in the 2000s. However, now it is not as popular, especially in its weave form on this dial. However, it's not really that noticeable, and it doesn't really look like carbon fiber all the time. There's a little bit of color on this dial. You're getting a chronograph. You're also getting a power reserve. That power reserve right there, right below it, it says Credor. Earlier versions were co-branded, but not always co-branded. One of the things that I love about this watch is the dial. It's actually what attracted me to this watch in the first place. This has a 6S77 inside. So when you flip over the watch, you could see you have an automatic movement with a column wheel chronograph. It is gorgeous. The movement is beautiful, and it's actually finished really nicely. It is basically a standard SEIKO movement of the time. This was a movement that was used in the Flightmaster, the automatic version. It gets the exact same dial setup. However, this gets a carbon fiber dial with applied indices, and there are these surrounds around each one of the registers, including that power reserve, and they sort of stand out. It gives it tons of depth. This is a gorgeous dial in my opinion. And then you have these yellow-orange hands for the chronograph. So straight down the middle of the watch, you have these yellow-toned hands, which again, I really love against that blackish gray background. Everything about it, for me at least, works really well. You have a screening crown, 100 meters of water resistance, a stainless steel case, and this is an integrated bracelet watch. You may not be able to tell that right off the bat because it looks like it has a bracelet end link, but this is not an end link. This is actually part of the case. There's a line here that separates between polishing and brushing. That is actually not an end link. It's part of the case. This is the end link, these two links right here, and that goes into a Jubilee style bracelet that has to be hands down one of the best bracelets that I have ever experienced from a SEIKO product. It is gorgeous. You have polishing and brushing. The polishing and brushing are perfect, and this is an old watch. It's not been polished, it's not been refinished, but it is gorgeous. You also have screwed links, which is kind of uncommon even for a Grand Seiko. So you're getting screwed links in this bracelet. The screwed links are a little bit of a pain in the butt because you have two screws and then you have a bar in the center. Each one of these is a link, so this is a multi-link bracelet. You even have little end links on each side of the bracelet. I'll do a close-up so you can see what I'm talking about, but There is a number of links that go into it. The crown, every time you unscrew and screw the crown, it always ends up that the Credor logo is exactly parallel to the case, or almost parallel to the case. And then you do have drilled lugs, but again, it's really difficult to take this bracelet off because of the design. But when you flip it over, you can see the case back, and the lugs basically are just a flush piece of metal. It's all polished on the back. You have a screwed-in case back. Dimensions on here aren't so straightforward. You have about a 37mm bezel, so at the bezel across, it's around 37mm. If you measure the case itself, it's around 39, just under 40mm if you measure it from one side to the other, not including the crown guards, and of course this other guard that is on the left side of the case. If you measure with both of those, it's around 43mm. It's around 14mm thick, because you do have a domed sapphire crystal on the front and a flat sapphire crystal on the back. The lug to lug on here is around 46mm. That is at the case. You do have female end links on here, however, it does act like male end links. However, that doesn't really bother the fitment of this watch. The buckle on here is a little bit weird, a little bit different from other Seiko products, especially Grand Seiko. So what you have here is the Credor logo. That's in gold. It is a double push button enclosure. Opening this up, you have a butterfly clasp, and you must fold over one side before you fold over the other, and there you go. On wrist, this is a very comfortable watch. It's a really good looking watch in my opinion, and I really love the bracelet. The quality of the bracelet and case are excellent. It is really on par, and in some ways much better than my Grand Seiko, and I really love my Grand Seiko. I have a chronograph, and they recently just came out with a Grand Seiko automatic chronograph. However, this has been around for a very long time. I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and like I mentioned before, this is a 40mm watch, and it's around 14mm thick. However, it does sit really well on my 7.5 inch wrist and is very, very comfortable. This is the GCBK997. It's also called the Pacifique, and it is a limited edition of 2,000 watches that came out in 2000. Price on these originally were in that $4,000 range. Back then, that was actually a lot of money. Now you can pick one of these up for around $2,000, and I really do believe you're getting a lot for your money. The movement inside this watch, the 6S77, was actually never sold to Tag Heuer. However, Tag Heuer do use a form of this movement, and they've bought the plans, or did buy the plans, from Seiko, and they made their own movement. There was some controversy around that. However, this is a very reliable, really robust automatic chronograph movement. So in my new segment where I ask 3 questions, the first question, is this ugly? I think a lot of people would find this ugly. If this was a scale of 1 to 5, let's say, I think a lot of people would rank this around a 2 or a 2.5, specifically because of the bezel and maybe even the carbon fiber on the dial. However, personally, if I'm not looking at it objectively, I would say this is a 3.5 in my opinion out of 5. Next question, is it cool? Now, this is a very hard question to answer. I would say this is not a Hublot. I don't think it's something that a lot of people would find uncool. However, it's definitely not an MB&F, something that a lot of people would find insane or very, very cool. So I would say this is on the lower end of the scale, probably in the 4 to 5 range. However, in my opinion, I would give this watch a 6. I really think this is cool, but you do have to explain what it is, and that's one of the problems about this watch. I think not a lot of people will know what it is, and I'm not sure if that makes it cool or uncool. Actually, tell me down in the comments below, is that cool when you actually have to explain what a watch is and why it is good? And the last question, is it worth the money? Absolutely, in my opinion. Obviously, I did buy this. It was $1,700. However, it has one of the best bracelets that I've ever seen from any Seiko product. It has an incredible dial. Whether or not you like the style of dial, it is incredible and really well made. And the movement is awesome. You get the 6S77, which is a very special movement from SEIKO. Well, there's a Lume for a sports watch. This is actually pretty good. It's of course Lume Bright, which is SEIKO's proprietary Lume. It's also used by Credor and Grand Seiko. And you can see here, it's very even. So each one of the indices on each side are lumed except for the primary indices. So it's a little bit different from what you normally see. The hands, you have sword hands on here, very liberally applied with lume. Pretty bright, especially for a watch that is 23 years old, considering that isn't so bad. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this watch? What do you think of Credor in general? I think this is a bargain when it comes to SEIKO. People out there should definitely check out these older models from Credor. You're getting excellent quality at an incredible price. And this is a pretty good price. I paid $1,700 for this watch, which I think is an excellent price, especially considering the quality, the fit, the finish, and the overall look of this watch. It's always been a grail of mine, and that's the reason why I ended up purchasing one. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.